Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Irish Zone. I hope you're all doing very well indeed. And we've got some stuff to talk about tonight, but I'm not alone. I've got a guest with me tonight, which I'll bring on now in a few minutes. But we're going to talk a little bit about the migration, EU migration pact. Obviously, the news is filtered through. It's being suspended till next week, and we'll discuss that. There's been an incident on Dublin bus involving a young girl and someone, as we refer to, new to the parish. So we'll discuss. We have to be careful what we discuss on YouTube. So we will discuss it, but we will try to get around it because what YouTube is like. Also, Barry Ward, TD. He's in the Senate, and he's very vocal on this hate speech legislation, and he's been wanting to drive this through like a steam train. And it's just convenient that he's the guy that has reported that 3 gay men, as he put it, were targeted and hunted down in the Phoenix Park. Of course, the Gardaí have come out with their own statement and said that no such report has been made, no complaint has been made, and they did patrol the particular area for over an hour, and there was nobody there. But the question I have to ask you guys listening at home, when TDs like that, we've seen plenty of TDs in this country make accusations like that, do you believe that the Gardaí, after it turns out, because I honestly do not believe this, by the way. That's my opinion on it. I'll get Eric's opinion on it. But if TDs make accusations like that and it turns out to be false, should those TDs face consequences because they have lied to the public and they're trying to stoke hate? So let me know in the comment section if you do come in. I do remember the last live stream we had. It was very heated. So maybe some of you have decided to stay away, but come in if you're brave enough and leave a comment. And we'll be obviously breezing through the rest of the stuff. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on my guest. I have met this man at multiple protests all over the country. We're in East Wall, we're in Dublin together, Newtown, Mount Kennedy. He's been in his hometown of Waterford and actually ran as a local candidate there as well. And I mean, the man is non-stop. He's like Fergus. Fergus, actually, by the way, is actually out in Tala Hospital right as we speak. And he's there in solidarity with the people. Well, yeah, I have to be careful. See, this is YouTube for you, right? If this was just on X, I could say it out straight. So do you know the Coof jab? Well, he's outside Tala in solidarity with people that have lost people in relation to the Coof jab. Right, that's YouTube. I hate you. Anyway, he's there right now tonight. So again, he tirelessly working on the ground in the communities. And Eric has been advocating for that sort of thing, supporting communities, supporting the youth, supporting your communities in general, and I'm exactly on the same page as them. We've been on spaces together and we've been pushing this narrative because unfortunately there are some out there that want to push it another direction, which will lead to absolute mayhem and bloodshed in this country. And I'm sorry, but it's our duty to try every single avenue available to us before we even contemplate going down that way. But anyway, let's bring him on. It's the one and only Eric English.
How are you, Noel? Thanks very much, man. Great introduction, and thank you very much for having me on here this evening. And hello to everybody in the chat or anyone listening. Hope you're all well.
No problem at all. I think we should start off, obviously, with the migration pact, because obviously, You know, this was the big thing that a lot of us in the movement were keeping an eye on, were worried about. And of course, there's been loads of spaces on this topic as well. And things have gotten very, let's be honest, tensions are, you know, everybody's stress tensions are high. And there's a few out there, Eric, to be quite honest, disillusioned would be the right word. But we got some good news. This was suspended because many people like Tracy Mahoney and who was the TD, your woman TD? I can't think of her name. And she's gone to, I mean, I forget who she is, but she put in a High Court request, wasn't it, for an injunction?
That's the barrister, Una McGurk.
Yeah.
Talking about.
Yeah, but who's the TD? There was another woman, Carol. Is it Carol Nolan? Her name is no, not Carol Nolan. Hold on, I've got our video here. I will get her name up now. Michelle Keane. Michelle Keane, because I have to give her our credit as well, because Michelle Keane, Una, as mentioned, and Tracy Mahoney, those three in particular, have been on the ball with this, doing their videos, informing the public, and they did get people to email their senators and TDs, and it seems to have made a difference, Eric. So people power, even though some people might be feeling a little bit disillusioned, it's still there to a certain extent, and it does show that we still can have a say in the important matters in our country.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, this country is built on its people, and when the people show their force, this country it bends its knee to them. You know, there's an old saying: the will of the Irish won't be broken. So as long as we carry on forward and we force our will on those people in our vast numbers, we can win any battle without any bloodshed, as you've rightly mentioned before. You know, this country has gone through its fair share of bloodshed, and at the end of it, it's been the strong speakers and the strong people on the streets that have got any sort of wins for us. You know, the proof is in the pudding with the Migration Pact, and also with the referendum on the family and mother. You know, it was a whopping victory for the Irish with a nearly 100% no. You know, so there's a lot to be said for people power in this country. It's something that we shouldn't lose sight of.
I think personally that people that are sitting at home and watching, and the people that are the loudest when it comes to get out there and fight what he is doing, I don't think they actually understand what is happening out there, Eric, because we've been on the ground and you continue to be there. As I said, Fergus is there tonight where he is. Gavin Pepper is off doing what he's doing. Philip Dwyer was down where he was. You know, everybody, like, I think the public out there, the ones that are screaming to go the other way, don't realise that there's a lot of Irish people on the ground right now doing the groundwork, so we are better prepared going forward. And we have, haven't we? You're right. I mean, the referendum was I mean, the yes side, the media and the TDs were saying this was a shoe-in, right? They spent over 25 million euro. It's probably more, but 25 million is the budget quoted for all the promotion and the ads and stuff like that. Our side had no budget, and we beat them in a landslide. Not only a landslide, but a record landslide victory. And then, of course, the left after that then saw the result, and then they would have prepared for the local and European elections, and we saw how prepared they actually were. But there is, again, we've got to get back to this. You're right. Enough blood has been spilled on this land, Irish blood especially. I mean, we owe it to the people at least to go down every diplomatic avenue that's available, Eric, before we'd even consider, you know, the other alternative.
Well, absolutely. Look, where we are today is because the way we've been treating it. We've been ultimately peaceful. You know, we've gone out there and we've been highlighting issues for people. You know, we've seen the heavy hand of the Garda, we've seen the heavy hand of the government. We've also seen the lies of the government, even with regards to the referendum. So they told lies. They tried to keep back files that they weren't going to release to us until after they got the yes. You know, fortunately they didn't get that, but we can see what the government has been playing at, and we can see the lies and the manipulation that they've tried of the Irish people. Now, if you look at the local elections, there's a lot of people are disillusioned with it, thinking that we didn't have any sort of a win. Well, I disagree with that. I'd say, look, from my own situation here in Waterford, we have 0 Green Party TD councillors sitting on our local council down here. Grace O'Sullivan wasn't able to make Europe. We also damaged Sinn Féin down here. We damaged the Social Democrats. We also damaged Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil. You know, it's the Independent Ireland candidates that picked up an awful lot of votes. They also picked those votes up off the work that we've been doing, not generally what they've been doing. You know, so most of them would have gotten a protest vote. Someone like myself that stood in local elections, or anyone else around the country, there was that bit of apprehension with the public and putting it on the ballot paper, giving us the first preference, because we're new to the political scene, and also as well because of the rhetoric from the government and the mainstream media, the way they've been painting pictures of us. You know, I think we've been overcoming that. You just look at the votes that Derek Bly got in Ireland South just for the European elections. I mean, thousands of votes. You know, and then you just accumulate all of the first preference votes that any nationalist got across the country, and I mean, you're looking at pockets of votes for different nationalists. We ran too many candidates, but what you can get from that, you can get a general consensus of people that have changed their mind and are looking at Ireland now, and they're looking at people like us, and they can see that the truth is coming out. You know, the government keep on battling us by telling lies and painting narratives. You touched on one a few minutes ago that we've heard of today, of a local TD in a park, you know, and he decides to make a complaint to Garda for 3 other people that never went near the Garda. He then tells lies that CCTV has been looked at. Then the Garda press office come out and say, no, that's not the case at all, that they don't even know who these victims are. You know, so people are looking at this, and people are wising up to it. You know, look, people will be disillusioned, and I get people's frustration, thinking things are not moving fast enough. But I mean, they're moving faster on the other side with the people coming into our country, absolutely, and we need to do something against that. But at the same time, we need to keep everybody together, and we do need to empower and uplift the Irish communities to be able to stand up against this. You know, it's in our DNA to look out for our own people. You know, it's not in our DNA to actually go out and have war. And a lot of people have a misconception on the history of Ireland, thinking that it was just all bloodshed. It absolutely wasn't. Before Michael Collins or any of them took up any sort of arms or anything like that, they went into communities, they stood up on podiums, and they empowered and uplifted people. Now, they didn't have all of the backing that they should have gotten, but they did have a general consensus among the public that they were right. And then after the fact, I know it was too late, but those people that spat on them or whatever else, they opened their eyes pretty quick afterwards and realized they were after making a mistake and backing the wrong horse. You know, we're in a similar situation.
After they start executing them. That's the thing. As soon as the leaders start getting done in by the Brits, the Irish people then realise, oh, these lads were right. What the hell have we just done? And that's why I think then when we get to the 1920s in particular, when it obviously they rose up again, they had far more Irish people backing them, because you are right, community has always been, listen folks, community has always been the heart of this country, always has been. When I grew up as a kid, I say Eric is the same, and some of you can verify this. You know, you could go out for the day and leave your hall door open. Nothing would be touched. You could knock on your neighbour's door, listen, I'm stuck for a few quid, or, you know, I need a bit of sugar, I need tea bags, whatever it was. And there was always that friendly, sort help each other out. We've lost that. right? But I think we particularly lost it, personally speaking. Now, Eric can give me his point of view when he thought it was lost. But I think, especially during the so called Celtic Tiger years, when there was money rushing through this, when some Irish people, not all, because the Celtic Tiger didn't reach everybody, I understood that. It reached me because of the job I was in, right? That I was lucky in that aspect, but I was stupid on the other side of it because I never saved a penny. My dad always said to me, right, Jordan, that time, you're better off saving a few quid, son, for a rainy day. He could see it coming before I could, but I just wanted to enjoy life. I worked hard and I played hard, and I make no excuses for it. Do you know what I mean? I could do it, so I did it. But the Celtic Tiger didn't reach it. But there was a certain arrogance. There was the loss of community then, I believe, during those Celtic Tiger years. Just before we had Italia 90, which was a stark difference, where communities all over the country, I put up a video the other day, you know, we're all part of Jackie's Army. Now that music video, I put it up in the crowd, the Irish crowd, the tricolours. I actually got emotional watching it. We have lost so much. Eric, when do you think? Because I think that's what we're missing here. And if we can respark that, and I think we've already seen it in some communities, if we can respark the whole community, you know, get the heart of the community back in, beating again, we have a chance of winning this.
Yeah, I agree with you, Noel. Look, I was born in 1990, and it was great growing up in the 90s because we still did have that kind of community aspect there, but a lot of people did start living the materialistic lifestyle, and they lost sight of what really matters. You know, knocking on their next door neighbor's door. You know, even asking for a bit of sugar. You know, these are the things that have been lost in our communities. You know, and look, it's partly due to the people that have come into those communities. You know, and it's also partly due to the Irish people that they fell out of love with Ireland. You know, we're seeing a revitalization of that now with the youth. You know, you see a lot more youth out even singing wolf tone songs, you know, with the tricolour and stuff. But generally, it seems that the left has tried to get in there and fill these young lads and the youth of Ireland with what I just say plain lies. You know, most of them don't actually interpret history the way it should be interpreted. They come up and they quote James Connolly, and you know, they make James Connolly out to be a full-blown communist or whatever else, and that's further from the truth than you know, than they could ever have, because he was an Irish.
You know what though? The one thing, can I just cut across you there, just real briefly? Because when I look at 1916 and I look at those leaders, right? Irish people should be looking at that and saying, right, look at those men and women that got together, all from different diverse backgrounds, all different beliefs. Some even had some different religious beliefs, but they all came together for the common cause. James Connolly, as far as I'm concerned, is a hero. I don't give a shit what these lefty twats say. You know what I mean? I hate that. But that's what they do, Eric, isn't it? They want you to feel ashamed of your history, the pride in the flag. I mean, I see you've got the tricolour behind you. I mean, they try to make us and they have made Irish people, because you hear it on on X. I know it's not the whole of the country. X is a bubble, but still on X, you see that it's had an right. You have a tricolour. You know, somehow you're scumbag, or you know, you're a racist for showing pride in your own flag.
That's it. Look, they've accused us of weaponizing this beautiful flag behind me, but they're the ones that have weaponized it. You know, you just think of Tom MacDonald. He gets elected into local council, and then you have a radio station asking him, is he far right because he's waving a tricolour? You know, and the perfect response from that man is, what would you like me to do? Would you like me to raise a different flag from a different country? We're in Ireland. You know, they've just subverted our flag. They've subverted our history to try suit their narrative. You know, we are a welcoming nation. Absolutely, we are. But
Always
we're
have
only,
been.
Céad Míle Fáilte has been absolutely abused. The whole concept of when our ancestors decided that they wanted to fight, they fought for our freedom. They also fought for us to choose our own destiny through our votes or whatever else. These people want to take that away from us. The whole concept between their socialist agenda is for us not to have that voice. And what they're doing is they're trying to empower the youth that they have on their side that's indoctrinated through colleges to come out here and fight against the actual Irish people that want the best for this country. All you have to do is look at these counter protests. The left come along and they come along front and centre, and they do have them there with the Irish Republican flag, but it's a false waving of it, because behind that flag they have either a Ukrainian, Palestinian, and that's the cause they're fighting for. They're not actually fighting for the Irish cause, which for me is I class it as treason if you're going to carry on like that, because this country has gone through an awful lot. We've only come out of civil war politics, I would say, in the past 20, 25 years, probably less. And since we've come out of civil war politics, we've lost sight of that opposition to the Free Staters. That's what I'm going to call them, because 1916, even at the end of the Civil War, the lads that would have been completely for Ireland, they were either exiled, they were executed, or they were forgotten about. My own bloodline, many people may not know, they may never heard of Ada English. So Ada English was one of the leading members of Common na Báin, and she revolutionised psychiatry here in Ireland. Her name was completely forgotten, along with an awful lot of others. And it's only in the past number of years that the people like us have tried to get those names remembered again. Like, everybody remembers Padraig Pearse, James Connolly, Michael Collins, but there was a lot more behind them that were working even within communities, and they never got the recognition that they deserved or needed, and they were left in the cold. And unfortunately, what we seen the Eamon de Valera's, we see the Free Staters, they took over. And we're 107 years on. We didn't win anything back then, and it looks like now that we're going back to that fight again. But if anything we can learn from history, it's that taking up the arm is not actually going to win you anything. You can get so far, but unless you have the community behind you, unless you have a strong democratic voice, realistically, you're not going to win anything. Because 1,500 men in 1916, 1,500 men in modern Ireland is not going to be enough to do anything. You're going to be swatted like a fly. Modern technology, everything. They had conditions somewhat in their favor back then, but again, like they didn't win anything, And it leads into what we're looking at today with the likes of people before profit, or all of these socialist agendas. They're not here for us. You can see that. You can see it with the heavily. I want to choose my words carefully here, but the indoctrination that they're trying of kids in our schools, the indoctrination of people across the country with their constant labeling of people like us with derogatory names. I don't care what anybody calls me, because the one thing that I know that I'm a true Irishman, along with the likes of yourself, Noel, Ferg Power, and everyone else that's out there doing their bit, even guys that I may be frustrated with, and I may have an issue with on a personal level or whatever else, but we're all here doing the same things. We're all trying to better our lives, better our kids' lives. And for me, my main focus on what we do here, the battle against the socialists. So people say in 5-10 years Ireland will be no more. I disagree with that, because once there's one Irish man here left standing, or one Irish woman, we can fight on. The biggest thing for us is we need to be in communities. We need to be uplifting our youth, and we need to be getting them in the same mindset that we have now, for this to be able to be sustained, and for us to keep our country and preserve our Irish people. The people on the left.
Because Eric, you made a good point during one of the spaces. This isn't just about now getting in. This is about maintaining and staying there to keep improving the country, because, once we get in, as you said yourself on that space, they're going to throw everything at us, the kitchen sink, you name it. So that's why I'm with you, and I've been with you 100% on this. And I have no shame of being called names for saying I don't want the Irish people to revolt, because the bottom line is if they do, they'll be squashed within half a day. I don't think people realise that their people are not the same. They're
Just
not.
on
They're just not the same. If it comes to that point, there's no. They will get up and they will fight whether we win or lose. The Irish people will always, to the last stand, will take that, but that can't be the only option available to us, and it's not. Republicans back in the day, they knew that community was the key, and here it is the key. But you said it's all about maintaining this for future generations, so keeping the nationalist movement alive, the sense of community alive for future generations to come. It's not just about now.
Absolutely. Well, look, I'll give you an example of this. If you go and if you look at any headstone from any of our fallen heroes on the anti-treaty side, you will see one line on all of those headstones, and it will say to upkeep the maintenance of the Republic of Ireland. So that is the future. There is no point in us trying to win a battle right now and not have a plan for the future, and not empower our youth, not uplift our youth, and not to educate our youth that the left way of doing things is not the Irish way of doing things. We can be absolutely welcoming, but we can only be welcoming once our state is preserved. We hear an awful lot of people that also say regarding people coming in, oh, it's not too bad like with women and kids. Well, I disagree with that, because the whole idea of what they were trying to do with our country wasn't putting men here. It was putting women. It was putting kids. Exactly the same thing as what we're seeing here today. We see males come here as well. My bigger concern, in regardance of the preservation of this country and its people, is we need to limit the reproductive abilities of people coming into our state that can absolutely overturn the Irish people in 50 years. That's where our true battle lies, and the only way we can win that battle is with the youth. Like I'm 34. In 30 years' time, I'm going to be 64. Will I even be here? Will I have that energy to be able to get up and fight? I don't know, but I do know one thing, that the youth, they certainly will, and they will be able to pass that on to the youth then that comes after them, and that's the way this must go. I mean, that's what our ancestors done for us. They laid that foundation. They gave us that mindset, and we need to do the same thing, but we need to be stronger in it. And there is no point in us going out there and causing a war. We won't win it. How we win it is we win it with minds. We win it with winning people's minds. I've got an awful lot of stick for people have accused me saying that I'm telling people not to be angry and telling people not to revolt. Quite the opposite. I want people to get as angry as they possibly can, but I want them to channel that anger in a positive manner so we can actually make effective change here. Not for us to go out and do something silly, take yourself out of the mix and take the guy next to you out of the mix, because
exactly,
the longer that goes on, we'll be left with absolutely nobody. So my view on it is we need to keep up our fight. We need to be strong. We also do need to be out on the streets. We need to show a presence. We need to show a physical presence. But what we certainly don't need to do is go out there and overpower a physical presence within communities. That just people sitting at home that may not have the stomach even to come out and protest, but are on our side, and we go out there and we make one false move, we will absolutely destroy that. And what they will do is they will go back to the left and they will look at them, they will follow on with that, and people like us
as a safety blanket. That's what they'll do. They'll go back to that as a safety blanket, because then they look at the nationalist movement and say, "Oh no, they're a little bit too radical for me," and that's what will happen.
Like another thing, like we see people, and I know there's a general fear with people even out at protesting, and some of us may have our faces covered or whatever else. I'll quote Mike Connell here. Mike Connell has said he wants the government to be afraid of him. Every time they see his face or hear his name, they shit themselves. That's exactly the way we all should be thinking. We all should not show that fear to him, because when you're showing the fear to him, the rest of the population that's not out with us is getting that fear as well, and they're somewhat afraid. So I know it's a big thing for anyone that's working or anything else, to come out, put their head above the paraffin. But I think be honest, it's time for that. The more people that show their face, the more boots that are on the ground, the more voices that are heard. This government won't be able to handle it. You know, it's TDs up in Leinster House that are controlling our country as puppets for the European Union, WEF, and whoever else you want to call it. But we're leaving them do that. You know, the general population is leaving them be the puppeteers and put all this upon us because the fear is instilled in them. And it's not just in the past 2-3 years. It's been instilled in them for 50 odd years now. You know, constantly telling them, oh, we have the solution, just wait for us. Like, no, I believe, I don't believe in leaders. I believe everyone is their own leader. And I think it's time for people to show them leadership qualities. Come out, say your piece, and stand with your people. People have said to me, peaceful protests don't work. Well, I'd argue with that and say it does work. We may not have stopped anything, but what we've done is we've built our numbers. We've got more people to come out and realize what's happening. You know, I know things are in a situation now where there's a lot more happening, and it's happening at a really, really fast pace. But that is up to people like us. We need to be out. In my opinion, we need to be out in communities. We need to be figuring ways that we can get people out to vote. We need to also figure out ways where we can actually genuinely help people and uplift those people, because the one person that you help in a community, that transfers into 10, 15 other people. We heard a story from another independent candidate, Frank Conway, the other day on an X Space. He called to a man with dementia. The man had no shopping in his house. So Frank went and done a bit of shopping. He went back to that man's house, and that man didn't remember him because of the condition he had. A couple of days later, Frank went into a local shop, and the local shopkeeper was able to congratulate Frank for doing that good deed, and he ended up getting 14, 15 votes out of just one household. You know, so that's what I mean by uplifting communities. It's not being in there every day of the week and, you know, running around knocking on people's doors. It's trying to identify people that you can help genuinely, and it's not even for the votes. It's just because you're Irish, because the humanity in you for your own people, that you'll help them, and that transfers to the rest of the communities and the rest of the public. You see this guy, see your face.
What Eric is saying there, folks, right, is what the government should actually be doing, right? And that's what we're saying. The government have failed us. So the only way that we can fix our communities, the only way we can bring back a sense of community and a sense of, like, old age pensioners, the youth in this country are absolutely have been left behind by the government policy, whatever it is. It's either policy or they haven't done enough, right? We want to make this country better. So the only way that we can do it is from the inside out. We will get into Dáil Éireann. It will happen, right? Without a shadow of a doubt, nationalists will hold the seat of power, okay? But we still have a lot of groundwork to do. And if we do it right. Eric has been coming up with some great suggestions. And then when Eric spoke about it, he got other people speaking about it. Now, there are a few out there, me and Eric have noticed this in particular, there are a few out there I would call plants. I won't mention names, but when we've been talking about this, me and Eric, they've tried to steer away from the youth. And that's deliberate, because Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, what are they doing? They're trying to empower the youth, right? All the other parties have a youth wing as well, right? So they know that the future, so we've got to get there before they do, before they get their claws into those kids. Unfortunately, they've gotten into some of them already, but the rest of them are there. But we can teach them a way. You know, this is the way we treat people with respect. We help your neighbor. You know, it's all about community. You protect your community. You know, that's what it's all about, education. And then, you know, someone said it in the chat, but me and Eric have been saying this for a long time as well. You know, there's a lot of people in this country that never voted. There's also a lot of people that have only voted Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael because they're afraid of change, and that's the only reason why they won't vote any other party. It's a psychological thing as well. But we do all of this, we lay the groundwork. Then future generations of our people will be well prepared to deal with what comes in the future. And also on top of that, we're building the country up. We're giving our people the confidence. You know, we're bringing back that sense of community, that sense of loyalty, that sense of national pride, because that's been lost and eroded as well, national pride. I mean, that irritates me quite a lot. And it's happening. I've even seen it happening in the Euros, right? I was watching the England match there just before we came on, England and Denmark. And I noticed something very startling by the TV broadcaster that I was watching. So when the commentators were talking, it was really loud. As soon as the national anthem started to play, they turned the volume right down. You could hardly hear them. As soon as the anthem stopped, the volume went back up, and the commentators, they're even now starting to turn down national anthems, right? So they've already gone after the flags in every country, including ours, the left, right? Now they're actually going after the anthems. Even Jerry Adams, by the way, and I want to just briefly on Jerry Adams. He said that if there was a united Ireland, that the anthem, we should have a new anthem and possibly a new flag. My response to him was actually, I can't repeat my response on here, but let's just say I wasn't happy with Jerry Adams. What do you think of that when you hear someone like Jerry Adams say something like that? And do you want to make a comment on Sinn Féin? Because, you know, let's say 10, 15 years ago, Sinn Féin, let's be honest about, was probably a lot of people's hope of the party that would break that monopoly of Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, and possibly be the party to lead the government and to move this country forward. We roll forward, what, 10 years, and we've got this version of Sinn Féin. Have you got, because they baffle me, Sinn Féin. Have you had to say on Sinn Féin? Because I mean,
we were all once upon a time Sinn Féin supporters, voters. You know, how they lost their way, I'm not 100% sure, but what I am sure of is that for a long time that Sinn Féin has been heavily infiltrated by the likes of MI5, MI6, and just actors that are involved there. Just look at Mary Lou McDonald herself. But she wasn't a staunch Republican. She came from a different political background, a different ideology, and now she's the leader of the Republican Party, the so-called Republican Party. You know, you can see the change, say, in the past 10 years in Sinn Féin, but like, I've seen the change probably longer than that, even though I was still supporting and voting them. There was nobody else to vote and support. But nowadays, like, it's they've completely gone off the deep end, you know. All you have to do is just listen to them. Even listening to Mr. John Hearn here, local candidate that got elected for Sinn Féin in Waterford, after he got elected, because he wasn't getting the support that he usually gets, even though he got into office, he made reference to that. He wants them to go back to the Republicans of old. He wants them to not be apologetic about singing songs or whatever else. But that's a cop out from him, you know. That's him now trying to secure his place in the next round of elections, because their support is dwindling. It's dropping to the lowest ever, and it's because of their rhetoric, it's because of their policies, and because of the way they treat people like us. I mean, how many Sinn Féin candidates across the country, when they were elected, have been out there with the tricolour? You know, they're the first ones to jump on people like us that have the tricolour. And just as for changing our national anthem or changing our flag, I don't agree with that at all. That's our identity. You know, I want the United Ireland. Absolutely, I want the United Ireland. But
the flag is already united. If you think about it, because the green represents us, isn't it? The white is peace. And as far as I know, there is this debate whether it's gold or orange, right? With the flag, because someone keeps saying it's green, white, and gold. No, it's not actually orange. There's always been that debate. Even in Dublin, we had that debate about the color of the last part of the flag. If you think it's gold, it's gold. If you think it's orange, it's orange. It makes no. They're similar. Jesus Christ, it's a little detail, but technically you're probably right. Gold, but the flag represents the whole of the country anyway. Eric.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, a lot of people forget that there was Irish Protestants. There was Protestants living in Ireland next to Catholics in Ireland without any problems. It was the Brits when they came here. What we see now is a divide and conquer. They pit us against each other, And in regards to the flag, changing our flag, the reason why I'm against changing our flag, because this flag is representative of all Irish. And that's Protestant, Catholic. The white is peace between us. That's what we always want. It's the only way we can be united. And when there's constant outside forces or outside influencers telling us that we need to change our national anthem, we need to change our flag to suit other people, absolutely not. If you're Irish and you want the unity of Ireland, you'll accept this flag, you'll accept the national anthem, and there won't be any questions about it. Mostly what I see is even the likes of Sinn Féin, again, the heavily infiltrated Sinn Féin, they talk about, oh, maybe we change our national anthem, maybe we'll change our flag for United Ireland. Absolutely not. And I would imagine that's why there's not an avid support up in the north for United Ireland under those that rhetoric. You know what I mean? Now, you may get the loyalists in the north that they want that, but we're Irish here. Like the general population of the south and the north, I mean, you have to take the whole island into account.
The majority is Irish. The majority are, yeah. So
so we can't. For me, it's unacceptable that we would change our national anthem or our flag to suit anybody outside of Ireland.
A minority. Let's be honest, the minority. They are the minority because we're the majority. It's the bottom line. This whole thing should have been wrapped up decades ago. Actually, when we were negotiating the peace process, this whole thing with the 6 counties should have been sorted there and then as well. This country should be united. We have to be united anyway, because as long as Northern Ireland remains part of the UK, we're going to have a problem with this, with controlling the stem of migrants coming from the north. I think a lot of people forget about that as well. This is another way of stopping the flow. If we were to get back the 6 counties, then straight away we've got a whole country, a whole border to protect, and we can protect that. The UK are not going to help us here. They're allowing them to come in here. Just once they're out of their country, they don't give a shit where they go after that. So, that's why you've seen it. We've seen videos all over social media, people from Belfast bringing people down here, right, in taxis, buses, you name it, the whole lot. But if this country was united, we can stop all of that shit. But I want to address this comment here from Wolf, because we will, if you still have some questions, we will actually answer some of your questions. If they're obviously if they're stupid questions, I'm not throwing them up. But if they're reasonable, like this, obviously if you're not taking the piss, that's what I mean, not stupid. When do you think we will be in the Dáil? If numbers stay the same, we will be the minority in 6 to 10 years. Well, we've all kind of have our own opinions on that. For me, I think we can do it in 2 general elections. If we don't put a foot wrong, if we do the stuff that Eric has spoke about, I've spoke about, and other nationalists have spoke about, and we can actually get others, that have the bigger voices to get behind it and then start pushing that narrative, we can get there. Yes, absolutely, I believe it. Right, I agree with Eric. There's no, listen, if If we don't have that belief, then why are we doing it? We may as well pick up the old firearm and pull it ourselves if we're going to have a defeatist attitude. You know what I mean? So I think we can get it done in two. We're not going to get in this general election coming up. Don't even delude ourselves, right? The government, the next government is Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael. Now, whether they have to be a coalition again or whether one of them gets the majority, which they won't. So it's going to be a coalition, and then they'll probably bring in the Social Democrats maybe, because it won't be the Greens this time, or some other party. But they will be in power. But then you'll have a weaker Sinn Féin in opposition, right? Because Sinn Féin is still going to be the majority in opposition, but they'll be weaker. So you've weakened them all. They'll all be weakened, but it'll be the next general election. And if you think we can't hold out, and then I absolutely think we can, because the bottom line is we have already seen that people are fed up, right? People that didn't normally come out and protest, and Eric will back me up on this, right? People that didn't normally come out, we're seeing new faces all the time, right? So if I'm seeing new faces all the time, that means more people are being made aware, or more people have just fed up and had enough. And I think we're seeing that. So, listen.
Just on that comment, like, when do you think we'd be in the Dáil? One person may get into the Dáil general election. We may get more in the next general election, but that again is down to us. It's down to all of us to be, first off, for everyone that's not voted, to get out and vote. I mean, we had a 54% turnout in the local elections. Now, you have to take some of that percentage off and attribute to the foreign nationals that are in our country, whether they're residents or whether they're actually citizens here. So
it brought the figure, Eric, it actually brought the figure down close to just Irish people voting. 48%, I think, was the actual figure, and then the 4% then was the non-nationals, as you said.
And that's, I mean, if you can get an extra 10% of Irish nationalists to vote, which we know they're out there, you know, we have an awful lot of people that are disgruntled with the system, that talk of deregistration and stuff. So they're the target people, that they are so disgruntled with the system that they don't want to take part in it. Well, I understand their frustration, but in order to make change in this country, we need people out and we need their voices. The only way we can demonstrate those voices realistically at the moment is on a ballot paper. We can protest all we want, but we need the ballot papers filled out. We need people out, and we need those people to be constantly voting for people like us. And in failing getting into the Dáil, we're looking at 10 years down the line and saying we're going to be a minority. Well, that's up to us then, outside of the Dáil, as people, to mobilise in communities and put a stop to what's happening. We don't have to go in a violent manner to do that. All we have to do is get our vast numbers, stand out, protest, and protect our communities. So I have no problem saying this here. What I would suggest, even for the likes of places like Clonmel, we know there's going to be an influx of human trafficking going into these areas. So be proactive, be out ahead of it, and get your 5,000-6,000 people, or how many ever you can, get into those communities and block them going in. So you don't have to be in the Dáil to do that. That already sends a message back to the government that you're not going to be getting away with it. Now, look, it's happening at the moment, but where we're lacking is we don't have that proactivity. We're more reactionary, and we don't have the vast numbers coming out. And this is not a go at anyone, because, geez, there's people out standing at camps every day of the week. You know, there's lads in Clonmel, Newtown, Mount Kennedy. They deserve all the respect that you can give them. But what they deserve more than that is they deserve the people within the community to be coming out with them. You know, and I think with a campaign with people like us, that if we can go around to these communities, like you've organised yourself, Noel, on the 30th, to go down to Clonmel, we can go down there and they can see numbers, and if they can see big numbers turning up in their communities to protect their communities, we may see a transfer of people there coming outside their doors and standing with the rest of those people.
Exactly.
So the rest of us then, like I'm from Waterford, you're from Dublin, then we can start focusing on empowering communities across the country to come out and stand up and fight back against it. Whether we're in the Dáil or not, we can do that. You know, the democratic part of it, that we absolutely need people in behind the lines. We need people in behind the lines to protect people like us. We also need people in behind the lines to figure out what's actually happening. You know, one thing I'll ask of any local candidate that got elected, like Gavin Pepper, Malachy Steenson, Glenn Moore, anyone that got elected, in your local councils, start calling for the audits of the NGOs, start calling for particular audits of particular departments, and we can transfer that information back to the public. We can tell them where they're being left out, and we can hopefully gather some more support and more people to stick their head above the parapet and say, hold on a minute, I'm not happy with this. You know, we're fighting. What I gather is that a lot of the time we're fighting international forces, whereas we should be focusing on the forces that are here in Ireland more so than thinking about the WEF at the moment. As much as they're putting policies and everything else in place upon us, it's the guys in Leinster House, it's the civil servants in this country that are really implementing those. So that's where our battle really lies. You know, it's great talking about the WEF and everything else that goes with it, but I mean, if you're in behind the lines for the lads that got elected, start figuring out in the local councils, where's money going, where's the priority going to, and try shift that back into the Irish populace rather than the foreign, you know.
So Lady of Era here says, so what do we do? Do we just stand back and let bad shit happen to our children until we have our numbers? I mean, look,
I don't think so, Lady.
I'm going to say something that's going to sound really harsh, but the reality is that when the government has already let in too many, we're already over capacity because people are living in tents. You've seen that. You've seen the videos. Now, there was an incident today on Dublin Bus, and he was apprehended by the locals, and there was local justice. I can't really, I have to be careful with what I say on YouTube, but this is what is happening now. Basically, people in their own communities are doing the policing now, unfortunately, because the Gardaí, well, I'm not saying unfortunately, I say rightly so, because the Gardaí have let them down. Unfortunately, you know, when you've brought the level of people, the numbers that you've brought in, unfortunately, we're going to have incidents, and we're not going to be able to stop them all or prevent them all, and it's horrible. But that's Simon Harris's fault. That's Lee over at Garby Forum. This is Helen McEntee's fault. This is Drew Harris's fault. He's supposed to be protecting the people instead of actually battling the people. He's supposed to have, listen, as soon as one bit of Irish blood was spilled, right? I don't know who the first victim of a migrant was in this country. But as soon as that happened, right, instead of doing what they did for Christmas, right, just for PR, where they had the Gardaí on horses and Gardaí all over, right, that should be happening all the time on a larger scale across the country, right? We've got counties in this country that don't even have a 24-hour Garda station, right? So this is what I'm saying. Communities are doing their thing, and this is until the Gardaí, and listen, again, government has failed them because there's not enough numbers in, and then you can't trust the members of the Gardaí because I've seen them firsthand. Eric has seen them as well firsthand, taking the light and taking the baton out and giving an Irish man or an Irish woman a good wallop with it.
Just to address that, Nola, so what do we do? Just stand back and leave shit happen? Absolutely not. I'm not saying stand back at all. I want to defend our communities, but in order for us to be able to defend our communities, we need people together. You know, so we talk about unifying Ireland, unifying the North. We're not unified here in the south.
Exactly.
We need to unify ourselves down here in the south, and in order for these things in our communities to stop happening. And I've heard people calling for this for years now, to start setting up community patrol groups, people getting out together into their communities and going in the late evenings or whatever else, making sure that even girls that are coming home from pubs or whatever else are safe getting home. That's how we don't leave this shit happen.
That's
You're
it.
not going
You've got to
you're not
do
going
it
to stop everyone.
yourselves.
Yeah,
You've
you're not
got
going
to.
to stop. You're not going to stop every one of these attacks happening. And if you look at what's happening across Europe, we're behind the curve. We need to be really proactive in getting our communities to be able to stand up against this and getting organised in a way that we can battle against it without the politicians, even without the Garda. Because look, every one of the Garda are useless. You know what I mean? They're absolutely useless. They've done absolutely nothing to protect the Irish people. None of them have come out speaking out. Every one of them are treasonous, in my opinion, and none of them are worth anything. I turn my back on the Garda. They are not the authority in this country. The real authority in this country should be coming back to people like us. I'm
It's
not
the
telling
Irish
you that,
people.
yeah. Well, we don't have to go out. We don't have to go out and break shit up. But if we can have people in their communities across the country that can go out and show physical force, and we can have even eight to 10 lads going around in teams of two, walking around communities, doing patrols of these areas, like we've seen actually some of the lads in Dublin
Yeah,
do, catching lads
yeah.
in bushes, taking crack and stuff, pull them out of there. And I don't know if I can get away with this, but absolutely, community justice, I have no problem with that. But my
Exactly.
point,
That's what's going to have to happen, because
yeah,
the people that are in power, the people that are supposed to protect us, that are a guard, that are supposed to make sure of your safety, right, your family's safety, are not going to do it. So, in fairness, I get the frustration from Lady of Era and other people, but the bottom line is that Irish people are going to have to do it for themselves. And this is why we think community is the key here. We've got to reignite that sense of community, to reignite, to care about your neighbour, care what happens. That's gone out the window. We need to
quickly,
bring
Mo,
that back.
quickly on the water charges. So we seen a national protest for water charges, but what we seen more so than that is we seen communities, when these lads were coming in to put in water meters, we seen communities block the roads and stop them coming into their areas in their vast numbers, and we beat it that way. It wasn't the protests outside Leinster House that bet that. That was people within communities that stopped these meters going in. That affected people's pockets. People's lives are on the line here, and that's what I'm frustrated. That's why I say communities need to be coming together and need to be coming out. It's not money on the line. This is lives. So I don't understand how there's not more people out in that respect, but I do understand that the government and the media have portrayed people as particular things, and they put the fear into people that they can't put their head out. Like, I've heard people, even on our side, tell people not to go out and protest because you might get your kids taken off you. I mean, if you're putting fear like that into people, you're not going to get them out. You need to be going in and uplifting those people and tell them, look, we'll help you, we'll protect you, the same way you're going to help us and protect us. We're going to stand together. We're going to go out together. I know it's easier said than done, but we've come so far now, and we've come so far with the likes of social media and speaking to people on the streets, that there's no point in us just giving up and saying, there's nothing else we can do, and I'm not telling people to stand back or anything. Literally saying, if you're going to be angry, put it into a positive channel. Go to the people that are in your area, even if there's only 10 of you, and come up with positive ways that you can try stop it. There's no point in us being constantly on social media or anything else calling for the revolution, when nobody is actually unifying together to go out there and revolt. And I'm not on about revolt in a violent manner. It's sheer numbers is what we need. We had 10,000 people in Dublin not long ago. Those 10,000 people, when things are called, should be there every time. We have Noel calls a protest in Clonmel for the 30th. I would like to see all the 10,000 people that went to Dublin in Clonmel. That would be a serious message. That
Yeah.
would be a serious message to the people in Clonmel, that there's There's people out there that are willing to come and defend your communities and try and empower them to defend their communities
Stand
themselves.
with you. Basically, show solidarity with you and stand shoulder to shoulder and tell you that you don't have to fear your government or the state no more. You don't have to be shamed because you do have the same opinions as the rest of us. For far too long, we've allowed the media, the government, everybody, leftists, NGOs, on radio, wherever it is, put our people down for wanting to preserve our way of life. And there's nothing wrong with that. And by the way, I'll ask a question directly to all of these lefty NGOs out there. You show me a country around the world where your diversity and inclusion has actually worked, and you will see that there's absolutely not one country out there, not one. Not one. The United States is a perfect example, actually. It's one of the biggest, perfect example. Is that country at peace? Are the people peaceful? No, they're at war with each other.
Here's a perfect example for you. The people that are coming into our country from Far East countries, how many of us could go and genuinely integrate into those communities? We wouldn't be allowed. They would take our heads off our shoulders. So why the left think that these people can come here and integrate with us is beyond me, because we've seen it. We've seen it in their own home countries. We've seen it all across Europe that does not work. They go there and they force themselves upon people to adapt to them, whereas they should be adapting to people like us. However, even if those people are coming here and they want to adapt, I'm of the mindset that no, absolutely not. This is Ireland. We need a strong majority Irish people here standing up for Ireland. And what we also need, and I have no problem saying it, for any foreign national that's in our country, citizenship revoked. There should be no such thing as a citizenship. They should be here on a residency basis. If they come and work, and I'm not saying all of them to come and work, but there is going to be a percentage that will travel for work. There is a percentage that may come here and fill jobs. Yeah, well, we need to decide if we're going to leave these people stay for an X amount of time, or if they're going to be permanent residents here. That's something that we need to be looking at going forward. But these things are in the future. Our big problem here now is getting people together to get the issues that we have in our country out of them now. And we can talk all day long about 5-10 years. This is not going to be done in 5 or 10 years. Even if we got into the Dáil in 10 years, it's still not going to be done. You're looking at 107 years of Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, and whoever else. You're looking at years upon years of migrants coming into this country, not just in the past 4 years, but just in the Islamic population alone. They started coming to Ireland in the 1950s. Now, we need to address that. We need to address all of those things. But I mean, these are things that are further down the line.
Yeah, I think people think we have a magic wand and overnight nationalists get in, and then that's the migration issue solved. I mean, first of all, just to give you a reality check, it's going to cost billions of taxpayers' money to get every person out, because I reckon that, I say 90% of the people that we've allowed into the country these last few years are definitely bogey, right? So you have to send all of them back, right? Because the bottom line is the EU is not going to pay for this, right? So, we're going to have to pay for it. I think people forget that a nationalist government would have to pay for that using taxpayers' money, okay? And at the same time, then you have to build houses for the Irish people. So this is not going to be a miracle overnight. This is, as Eric said, is going to take decades to sort out. What they've done to our country, right, is going to take decades to undo. I don't think people understand that. It's the same with this ideology that he brought up earlier on with children. That's going to take decades to sort out as well. We have a mental health crisis, not just in Ireland, but across the world. That's going to take decades to solve. All of these issues are not going to be solved overnight. These are issues that are going to be decades old. It's the truth. I know nobody wants to hear it, but that's the truth. And this is why Eric is right, community. I know there's people frustrated in there could say the people need to rise up. Listen, this is not 1916. This isn't 1920s. The Irish people are not the same. If Irish people go out, as I said the other day, and I'll say it again, if Irish people go out and rise tomorrow, right, it'll be squashed within a day. Martial law will be called in. The nationalist movement, every single momentum that they have will be gone, right? And all of the progress that they made will be wiped out overnight. Do we not owe it to those people and those people that are fighting on your behalf? Is it not our duty to give them a chance to get their foot in the door and do the things they say they're going to do?
Well, I want us to revolt. Absolutely, I do. I want the revolution, but I don't want the revolution that's going to cost our lives and completely destroy the future of our nation. Look, you look at this. Okay, so the last Dublin protest, we had 10,000 people on the streets. Now we have about, I think, just off the top of my head, about 13,000 Garda in our country serving. We also have defence forces serving here. So you're looking at approximately, say, 50,000 people. Every one of those 50,000 that are in those services are ready to fight. They have the know-how, the education, they have also the technology, everything behind them. Out of the 10,000 people that went to Dublin, how many of those people are actually ready to fight? I would guarantee you that it's a very, very low number. So if we were to revolt in the morning, we'll have maybe 600 to 1,000 people ready for that fight. We're going to be swatted like flies. Absolutely swatted like flies.
And remember, you're forgetting, right? In 1916 and the 1920s, they were able to get a hold of you know what, right? Us as Irish people, we don't have access.
But even
we don't
if
have
we
access to either. They got all the guns and all of this other rubbish. It's all crazy.
We're talking 107 years on from 1916, or we're in modern times here. It's not as easy as what people make out that we could do. I mean, we're living in an age where everything is watched. Even our phones here, we're on phones. Everything we say or do is being tracked. Absolutely everything. You just see today 3 men arrested for standing outside someone's house, exercising their constitutional right. Look how quickly.
Let's get on to that. So for people that don't know, some lads showed up outside Simons Harris's gaff with our protest posters and a couple of tricolours. They did have their faces covered. Now, me and Eric are I'm of the opinion that, you should be proud and not hide your face. You know what I mean? But that's just me. I think Eric is the same. I've never seen Eric in a mask either. So I'm pretty much, he's probably on the same level as me. But anyway, they did nothing else but protest outside. They were asked to leave, and as far as we saw, they obliged and they moved on. But now these lads have been arrested. We don't know if there's charges yet, but they've been arrested. Now, you could be absolutely sure at one point the media will name and shame them. But as you know, if a new to the parish commits a crime in this country, their names are withheld. But Eric, someone getting arrested for protesting outside someone's house, as you said. But we've also got calls from the NGOs and Paul Murphy and other TDs in particular calling for protective zones or whatever, or non-zones in the country where you can't protest. But it's our fundamental right as Irish people to assemble peacefully anywhere in the country.
Absolutely, and look, the lads that were arrested, they certainly didn't deserve to be. I understand why their faces are covered in those situations, and I wouldn't put that against them because they did have their faces out beforehand. But I mean, it just goes to show that no matter what you do, that these guys in the uniform, the power is in their hands because they can just take it out of the game. what we need people to take the place of those guys that were arrested. And the only way we can do that is by empowering more people within communities to come out with them. You know, I have no problem with anyone outside anyone's house protesting, and that's being quite honest. The problem where I see is if there's 2 or 3 lads outside the house, they're open targets for the authorities, especially with the tyrants that we have in government, and especially with Simon Harris there. You know, we have to take the warning that he gave seriously, that he was going to come down hard on us. That's what he's been doing. You know, you look at the uptake in arrests since Leo Varadkar left office, and since Simon Harris has got in there, it's completely changed. They've gone more aggressive with regardless of arrests. They've gone more aggressive even with regardless of trying to push particular narratives onto people. You know, you had Simon Harris in the Dáil the other day saying, "Oh, we have no unvetted mild migrants in our country." I'm fully sure he said mild migrants, so he could get out the little lie. You know what I mean? They know exactly what they're doing, and like the lads that were arrested, I'm fully sure that they probably were waiting for that knock on the door, and that's being quite honest with you, because the fact that they've been out doing it so long, and there's an awful lot of people on our side that have been giving those lads stick, and they've been giving them stick wrongly. You know, while we've been sitting down or we've been going to protests, those lads have been going out and they've been highlighting serious issues across the country. Now, look, as well as that, there's other people that have been targeted with labels as well that are on our side, from people on our side, you know, that have been doing extremely good work as well. And that's where we need the unity, that we can protect the people that are being arrested, you know, by replacing them and just giving more headaches to the government without being violent. You know, those people that are arrested, that's a statement out to the public now, telling you that you can't protest in any manner whatsoever outside of anyone's house, or any a grievance that you have, that if someone thinks that someone goes in and says, "Oh, he's harassing me, that you're being arrested," we can't accept that. And if we're going to accept that, what we need to do then is turn back the clock, and we need to go after the lefties and the shinners that went outside these same people's houses a number of years ago, and those guys need to be locked up. You know, that's the way we need to treat this, and there's evidence out there of the shinners outside people's houses. So let's start promoting that. Let's start putting that out, highlighting that, and showing the similarities and actually the difference in what's actually happening. Because while the shinners were outside those people's houses, there was numbers of them, and they were making threats. I mean, the shinners bust through the Dáil Éireann's gates. You know, we've never done that. And that's why I say we need more and more people to catch on to what we're doing, and to help the likes of the lads that are arrested today, and also even the lad that was arrested in Clonmel. He was arrested for going and asking Garda questions. You could see the Garda visibly shaking. But as well as that, what we need to keep sight on is the people from outside of this country that are looking at Ireland, and they're looking at Ireland as a content creator. They're inciting people to go out and do particular things that they want to do in their country. And what they do is they keep the video on them, they get the video, they send their content out, and these lads are being arrested over here
and they're monetizing and making money off them.
Absolutely, they're monetizing and making money off them. These lads are being arrested, you know, and I love the passion, I love everything about it. It's not me telling don't get arrested, but if you're going to get arrested, make sure that it's something that's worthwhile for being arrested. I mean, there's doing something illegally, and then there's doing something morally. So if something is morally right and you get arrested for it, I say go for it if you want to go for it. But if you're putting yourself in a situation where you're probably the only person that is on that chopping block, don't do it. You know, you need to weigh up your options and the risk before you go into that, because
you don't want to ruin your life either.
You don't want to ruin your life, but you also
a bloody pawn in someone else's game, right? You can channel that anger, you can channel that, you know, that passion that you have for good. You could do good in your community.
I'd like to see those guys still in the game. You start racking up arrests, and we've seen it already.
You get taken out one by one.
One by one, and they'll ban you from going to say, a protest site. So as soon as they see that you're on the move to a protest site, away from the crowd, they'll take that individual out, and they'll continue doing it. They've continued to do it across the country, as we know. I mean, we're looking at Ferg Power. He's been arrested numerous times for nothing. We're looking at the lads today that were arrested. We're looking at the lad in Clonmel. We're looking at people in Newtown Mount Kennedy that were arrested and brought to court the following day. Now, they were absolutely, in my eyes, they were right in what they done, and I give them a medal for standing up to the Garda the way they did. The unfortunate thing is that they didn't have more people to do that with them. You know, again, it's not calling for us to go out and cause violence. It's the Garda brought that on them. I have no problem. I'll stand there and I'll defend myself as well. But I certainly won't be going out on somebody else's say-so from 6,000 miles away, telling me to revolt and go out and throw either my life away or throw the chance of that community stopping people going in there away. You know, we've seen it too often as well. We're talking about standing up against these people. Well, this is a national issue, and we've heard numerous times about outsiders coming into communities.
Yeah.
There's no outsiders in Ireland. We are all Irish. So Irish people going into communities to stand up for Irish communities are Irish. They're not outsiders from Waterford, Cork, Limerick, Galway, or wherever they come from. They come
Dublin.
From
I know you hate us Dubs, but we're not all, you know, there's a perception of us Dubs that we're troublemakers. Trust me, as a Dublin man, the last thing that I want for our people in this country is trouble. And I'm with Eric, I'm with a lot of nationals there. We want to just support you guys, stand shoulder to shoulder with our fellow Irish man and woman, and stand there. I mean, Clonmel, right, is a perfect example, right? Eric is right. If we got 10,000 people, or even half that, 5,000 people to show up in Clonmel, that will make a difference, right? Just stand there with our banners, right? Show solidarity with the people of Clonmel. That'll be beamed all over social media. It'll be beamed all over YouTube because people will post it all over the place, right? But people in Clonmel will hear about it, or they'll see it firsthand, right? And they'll say, oh my God, people are here to support us. And that's the point. And then we can start having conversations with them, you know? And then that's how you work your way into the community, and you basically say, look, I'm here to help you. Anything you need, you know, we're here for you. We're in this together. The only way we win this is coming together. He's right. We are not united right now. That's the problem that we have here. We're not united. If we were united, trust me and Eric wouldn't be sitting here, right? We'd be agreeing with the comments, and we'd probably be already out there, and this would be over, right? But that's not the reality of the situation that we're in, folks. And listen, it's not all doom and gloom. I see some people in the chat. It's not all doom and gloom. There's plenty to be optimistic about. Bad shit, unfortunately, it's going to happen. There's nothing, as I said, locals are taking it amongst themselves now to protect their communities, right? Whether people agree with that or not, right? Morally, I believe it's the right thing to do. At the end of the day, someone harms someone in your fucking community. That's what we've lost. Listen, in old Ireland, right, to a certain extent, that's what it was. It was community justice, right? So,
yeah, we absolutely. Look, people have made accusations against me, as I said, saying that I don't want people to rise up. I don't want people to be angry. Absolutely, I do. Absolutely, I do. But first and foremost, people need to be together and be angry in a way that they can defend their communities. Not just one or two people out there doing it. Come together and defend them. And community justice, I'm an advocate for that. Before I would call the Garda, because of the Garda here in this country, my first thought is, how many people in my community are ready to stand up and defend my community? That's where I first look. And if something happens like what happened up in Dublin today, and somebody dishes out community justice, absolutely rightly so. And if those people end up in court, I'd be the first person standing outside that courthouse advocating for them to be left go. Simple as that. You know, we can't rush into a situation in a negative mindset, thinking that, oh, if we don't do something now, that we are gone forever. You need to keep the positivity, because if you're thinking negative, you're already half baked. That's what the government wants you to do. That's what the media wants you to do. That's what the lads controlling the puppets want you to do. They want you to keep negative. They don't want you to be positive. I mean, we've all seen the local elections. We've seen the lefties coming out and giving people, oh, you didn't get elected, you didn't get this, you didn't get that. They were absolutely shitting themselves in case loads of people got in. That's why they were checking on how many votes people got. They wanted to slap and turn in our face. It was to say, oh, look, you only got 88 votes, but really they were shitting their pants because they were expecting us to get more. You know, and unfortunately we didn't in the locals. But I do think with the national election, for general election, we're all on national problems. I mean, the biggest thing is immigration. We absolutely do want deportations, and I think you'll see a projection of the public's mindset into the general elections, and I think that we will probably get one or two people over the line. I don't think we're ever going to have a washout on it, because we have all different opinions in the country, you know. But we do need to be realistic and know that this is not going to be an overnight war. This is going to be a long war. This is not a 5-10 year thing. I mean, we're going to be battling against this for a long time. And as I said in that X space before, if we got power here in the morning as a washout, you can be damn well sure that over across Europe, that money is going to be funneled into the likes of the Fianna Fáil and Fine Gaels, and they are going to throw absolutely everything they can to get us out of that. And where they're going to hit, they're going to go straight into communities to turn people against us. What we need to do is we need to be
there. This is
we
the
need
point.
to have those people.
When you grow a tree, when you grow Arden, right, for it to survive, it needs strong roots, right? So if we get in there, so basically they're trying now to get in with the youth, but they're not having much of an impact, because you see the reaction. Everybody hates the Fine Gael youth and the Fianna Fáil youth, but that's where we have the advantage right now. And Eric is right. This is about setting the foundations. You need strong roots. So then when they throw everything at us, as Eric has said, right, and they try to get into the communities, they will find they'll be turned away. They'll be shunned. Get the fuck out of here. The country is the best it's ever. That's what it's all about, folks. People need to go back, make our churches strong again. There isn't a saying. We need our priests to tell. Well, there's a couple of priests in this country that have spoke up and haven't been afraid to speak up. There's been a few videos circulating, calling out the woke ideology and all this other stuff as well. So there are some, but I will agree with you. But the church, listen, I have a love-hate relationship with the church. When I was younger, I was an altar boy. I sang in the church choir. I went to mass every Sunday. You know, I did. I was a practicing Catholic. Okay, and then all the scandals came out, and I lost my faith. I'll be honest. But since I've been on this journey, I've regained my faith. I will say this: I have been delighted to see numbers are starting to go back up again, because people are turning back to the faith. But I do believe, and I will say this, and this might be a little bit controversial, because Eamon de Valera did it the wrong way. But I do believe that when we're shaping this country, the church should be involved, but not in the level that they were involved back in de Valera's time. They should have no say on school policy and all of that other stuff, but they're there for spiritual guidance and stuff like that. That's it. That's their whole thing. But yes, I think there should be a spiritual reawakening in this country as well. And I would start. Look, my sister, my niece, she goes to church. She's highly religious now. Whether she'll stay like that now remains to be seen, because a lot of Irish teenagers kind of grow, as we say, they grow out of it. But I don't think I think parents nowadays, especially my sister, they're instilling that faith in them. They want that part. I mean, my niece is fluent in Irish. She actually is being tutored personally, a personal tutor been teaching Irish and learning Irish in school for like the last few years. She's fluent in Irish. Like, I mean, she put us all to shame. I mean, I know a few phrases, but that's my shame. I never then went on and kept my own language alive. That's my sin, and I'll hold my hand up to it. It's all of our collective job as well to keep our language alive and our spirituality alive and all of that. Go ahead, Eric.
Just on that, like I'm not particularly religious, but I had a conversation with a lady today, and as she said to me herself, she's seen that the rise in people going back into Christianity, it is on the rise. People are turning back into the church and so on. And the problem that we have with the youth, again, is the media and the government. So the media and the government blame the Catholic Church and Christianity for all that went wrong in Ireland. In actual fact, it's the individuals that they left in behind those doors. They knew who they were. There was politicians covering for these priests that were committing atrocious acts on people. And unfortunately, what the media and what the government done is they slapped that onto the Catholic Church. They slapped it onto Christianity. And what they've done is they used it as a weapon against those. Now, I agree that with you, Noel, we need the spirituality to come back, but we don't need them to have the level of control they had over our country. But what we do need is we do need people rekindling that faith. Now, I've lost that faith myself. You know, I have conversations with a good friend of mine, and he knows who he is, and he's always pushing. You know, he pushes it. He goes deep, and he's always putting those points across. You know, he's highly spiritual. That's a man that understands that it's not going into a church doesn't make you a devout Christian. It's how you live your life. It's reconnecting with that. As I said, I'm not connected like that myself, but I absolutely advocate for everyone out there to pick up a Bible, read it if that's what you want to do. Rekindle that faith. If you can't rekindle your faith with the Bible, rekindle it with your people. You know,
yeah,
it's the only way we can move forward.
Hold on, I have to stop you there because that is absolutely, that is a great quote. Absolutely, I couldn't have said it any better. If you can't rekindle your faith, then rekindle it with your people. That is absolute. That is the whole thing here. That's what this is about. This is what they've taken from us, right? We need to regain that. Eric, well, man, seriously, what a fucking quote. Someone clip that for me, will you? Go on.
Look, it's just I grew up with in a really religious family. My grandparents extremely religious. Things in my life turned me away from that faith, you know, and made me question it or whatever else. Now I was speaking to someone today, and as I said to him, I'm a bit of a religious nomad. I don't have a home religiously or spiritually. The only home spiritually that I have at this moment in time, and my only goal, is the land I stand on, where my kids are involved. That's the only thing that drives me forward now. That's my faith and my hope at this moment in time. But absolutely, we need more people rekindled with their faith that they had before. Or if they can't do that, we do need it with their people. And that's why I constantly say we need to unify and we need to get into communities, because the only way we can do that is with our people. You know, we're fighting multiple battles here. You know, I want deportations tomorrow. Before we are going to get any of that, we need the people with us. You know, it's we have people now. We don't have enough. We have the silent voices. We need to make those silent voices loud. And I've seen it since we all start getting involved in different stages where we've got involved. You just look at the amount of numbers that have come out, the new faces we see every time. You know, even on the bus a couple of weeks ago, I was on my way up the country, and on the bus there was two old men sitting at the front of the bus, and they were speaking about the immigration. They were speaking to the bus driver. I put myself into the conversation with him, being the younger man there, and they agreed wholeheartedly with me, but they had that fear, and they brought up about the communities that they once had that they don't have anymore. They don't know their next door neighbours. They don't know the guy living across the road from them. There are things that we need to we need to pick up on it. We need to get to know those people, and they're the people that will be along for the ride with us. They're the ones that are really going to win our country back. There's no politician or leader ever going to do right by us, and that's including the ones that are on our side now and that we're going to elect in. I call them spokesmen. The only way they can do good for us is if we demand that from them, and we haven't been doing that with what's in power now. Like you said the other night, Noel, the electorate have gone out and we voted nationalists in, or even the guys that didn't get in, including myself. And it's up to us now to try our living best to come together. We're all guilty of having a personal beef with people or whatever else. Only the other day I was asked would I sit down and speak to a person that I had a beef with, and absolutely I would. Because the bigger picture here is not my personal issue with that guy. It's about moving forward, and that's the same within communities. You may not get on with your next door neighbour. He might play his music too loud. Yeah, no problem. But try find a way that you can find a common ground and move forward, And people think I'm speaking about uplifting things tomorrow. No, I'm talking about longer term. We can, as I said, we can overturn things tomorrow, all we want. It's how long can we hold that? It's going to be a long battle, and I would love for everybody to get up tomorrow and get outside their door and walk up to Leinster House, go in and pull these fuckers out by the ears and say that's enough for you. But realistically, that's not going to happen, and we get an awful lot of like we were saying, the revolution talk. Well, revolution won't happen without people actually having faith in what they're doing, and actually believing in what they're doing. And I'm sorry, but I don't believe in two lads going outside of a plantation centre, standing there all night, shouting and roaring. There's only two lads. The guard are looking at you. You have the public looking at you, the community looking at you, going, what are they actually doing? Where's their support? That's why I say community is key. Community is key, and like that man said, faith is key. Getting back into, if you want to go to church, or getting back spiritually, and if you can't do that, have the faith in the lad next to you that might be after rekindling his love with God, and have the faith in him, and that's how we can move forward.
Yeah, there's a lot. Obviously, there's a lot of people that agree. Obviously, there are some saying that the church is part of this. Listen, there are definitely individuals within the church that are definitely on board with this, and we won't deny that, right?
Just quickly on that note,
archbishops out there, maybe not in this country, right, but in other countries, call this absolute bullshit out. They have called it out.
They're looking at the institution. They're not actually looking at actually what the faith is. So there's no point in looking at the institution and the doctrine of the institution and saying, I'm going to follow what they say. Like, there's 10 commandments there. It's up to you to live your life, say, by those commandments. But it's also up to you to keep that faith, not in the brick walls that you're looking at, but in the way you carry yourself going forward, and in the faith that you're looking at God, Jesus, or whoever you do look up to, whatever higher power you look up to. That's where your faith goes. It's not in the brick walls. It's not in going and listening to the priest telling you mass. He's only projecting a message out to you. It's up to you how you interpret that message.
Yes.
Some people don't ever go to mass. I know a lady from the north that she does not go to mass at all. She's one of the most religious, spiritual people I've ever met in my life. She speaks absolute sense. She doesn't believe in going to church. She believes in her faith. That's what people need to think about. It's not the brick walls. It's not the Pope. It's the actual faith that you have in that higher power. I've lost that. I have no problem admitting I've lost that myself. I'd like to rekindle it. This moment in time, I don't know if I can. That's why I have faith in the people that I talk about. And he may not like me mentioning, but Eric Lynch, that man, his faith, his spirituality is something to be respected. And they're the guys I have faith in him. He's shown me the way forward in his actions. We had our own thing ages back, and that man showed me forgiveness. It's something I hold dear to my heart, and that's why I will follow that man into any battle. And his faith left him do that, not mine. You know? So that's why I say put the faith in the people next to you if you can't put it into the higher power.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the comments. Again, there's a lot of yous that obviously are just refusing point blank to listen and keep saying we need a revolution. Well, I'll say to you guys like what I said the other day. If yous want to go and do that, go and do that. But like Eric said, I can guarantee you, you're not going to have the population of this country behind you, because the bottom line is we are not the same people. As I keep going back to, and we have to keep going back to this, because there's this idealistic view of the Irish people that somehow, right, our people that haven't fought in decades all of a sudden are going to turn into fucking Braveheart, right? And we're all going to go out there and fucking like beat the fucking system and take all of these. Are you crazy?
It's never going to happen, right? Look, we're all here for one thing: preservation of our island, of our people, but also our kids. So we can go out and revolt tomorrow, and we take ourselves out of our kids' lives. What are their kids going to do when they're grown up? But where's the guidance going to come from? Because you're gone. So a revolution, absolutely, we need a revolution. But going out tomorrow and spilling blood, that's not a revolution. That's, to me, that will be the turning point and the fall of our nation completely if we have that mindset going forward. I mean, you just look at the work that lads have done before I was even involved. You know, even with the likes of say Philip Dwyer, you don't see Philip Dwyer out there telling people to burn things. You don't see Fergus Power out there telling people to do this and do that. They want people to revolt, but they're not telling people to go out tomorrow with something in their hand and spill blood, because they know as well themselves that we're here for our kids, we're here for the preservation of our island and our people. And I can guarantee you tomorrow, you go out and you cause a revolution, and you can go out and fight foreigners if you want, but I can guarantee you're going to be fighting more of your own people than you are the foreigners, and you'll end up spilling Irish blood. How can you call yourself a nationalist if the only thing on your mind is to go out and spill your brethren's blood? I mean, that's not a nationalist to me. That's not an Irish man or an Irish woman. The lads back, our ancestors didn't want to go out and do that. In fact, most of them on the free stater side, as soon as they seen, like you quoted before, Noel, as soon as they seen Irish men and Irish women being executed, what did they do? They went back to the anti-treaty side. And of course, yes, they did fight against their Irish brethren. And you know, the survivors of that civil war, afterwards, when they were asked about what they went through, they quoted that they never wanted to go out and spill anyone's blood. That's not what was on their mind at all. So, like, I get people are frustrated and they speak about revolution, but I think an awful lot of it is a big bravado from people that don't actually have it in them to go out and do it, and they're looking at
not only that, they have their own self-interest. Some of these, look at every revolution in this country has been defeated because of internal and external forces, and that's exactly what's happening here. The external forces have their own little agenda and have reasons why they want the Irish people to spill blood. The internal forces are the ones that actually want to derail the nationalist movement because it's actually getting somewhere. And that's the way I see it. And people need to wake up. As I said, if you want to play Braveheart, go ahead and play Braveheart. But the people won't be with you. And the only way you're going to get your people with you, if you want to play Braveheart, as I said, is getting into the communities. But you haven't done that. So good luck, which is a little revolution. The bottom line is, until you have all of the people in line with you, which you don't, and we know that for a fact you don't, because they're not going to get up and fight, because we're not the same people, as I said, of 1916, right? There's no Michael Collinses today, right? There's no Eamon de Valera's today, right? The Irish man is completely different. I'm not saying if it comes to that eventually Irish people wouldn't get up and do what they have to do. They will. but they'll do it when they're prepared to do it, right? These things don't just happen overnight. As I said, there's no magic wand here, right? We can't just we take over the country, right? Say we succeed, right? So then what do? We're in power, right? Tell me what we do. What happens next? We round up all the migrants, grand, we put them in the airports, we fly them out, we bankrupt the country, and then Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael come back at us because of the might of Europe funding them, and then we're out, and then we're all dead because we've actually, absolutely got the people to get behind us and take over the country in a coup. And then you take out all of those people then in one fell swoop, right? And then the government then martial law forever. Yous are done. It'll be like living in fucking China, right? Worse, probably North Korea, right? You'll be screwed. So go ahead, play as a little Braveheart. I love all of these internal and external forces. Yeah, the Irish should rise up and fight. The Irish are not prepared to rise up and fight right now. I've never said once, by the way, that they wouldn't be ready to fight. That may come one day, but now is the time to be doing what we can do in communities and the things that we can control. Everybody's talking about the things that we can't control, right? The things that we can control, well, we need to be doing work on those things. Simple as that. And listen, as I said, if you just want to go out and play Braveheart, go for it. And we'll support you. Absolutely. We'll support you from the sidelines because we're not that stupid, right? We know when the time to actually do something like that, it'll be done because we are ready. So, as I said, you just want to, everybody watches too many movies, maybe you need to leave it out, really. You know what I mean? If you just want to fight, get out there and do it. See how long it lasts. It won't last long. And that's the thing. We're not saying it because we don't want to fight. I'm saying it because I know you will get hurt or even worse. And what's the point of you losing our lives now if you don't have the people behind you backing you up? I'm sorry, but to me, it shows that Irish people have not learned their lessons from the past. And as Eric was talking about earlier on, we should be learning lessons from our past. And, to all of these internal and external forces out there, I actually don't know what your game is. And I don't know why you want to put Irish people in harm's way. But I'll say shame on you, because the bottom line is the Irish people are not prepared for anything like this, right? And you're basically asking sheep to go into a lion's den. That's what you're doing, right? You have this idealistic view of Ireland because of our past, right? There's a video from the early 2000s, right? And I say, if you ask the same question today, the answer would be fairly the same. Would you die for Ireland? And the majority of the people in that video said no. And that was the early 2000s, right?
I'll answer that question.
Ask that today, right? If you ask it amongst nationalists, it'd be 100%, right? But if you to go out there into the ordinary streets and ask that question, I guarantee it'd be the same answer. And why? Well, because the people, unfortunately, listen to the media, they listen to the government, and they listen to, do you know what I mean? So we got to change that. Community.
The real question is people ask, are you willing to die for Ireland? My answer is no. I'm willing to kill my enemy for Ireland. That's where this boils down to. So we can say, are you willing to die for Ireland? People say yes, no problem. Now, are you willing to kill for Ireland? Because that's, if you're talking about revolution, that's what you're talking about. So it's very easy to talk about these things until it faces you in the face. And then you have a choice to make. Are you going to step across that line and end somebody's life, or you're not? And I can guarantee you, we can go out and we can revolt in the morning. You're not going to have those people that are willing to do what you think they're willing to do.
Exactly. I guarantee you that 99.9% of them, when it that moment will actually freeze up, because we're not built that way anymore. I'm sorry, I know it's horrible to say, we should be, but this is what's happened. The decades of governments of Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael eroding our heritage, our everything that makes us Irish. We've lost that over time. Obviously, some of us are awake to it. Myself, Eric, and other nationals, we're awake to it, and we embrace it and stuff like that. And Eric will tell you this: we'd get out. Listen, me and Eric would be the first ones on the front line if we believed that we could win, right? Because I tell you something: if I'm going to do something like that, I'll be out straight. I'm only going to do it because I know I'm going to win, right? There is no time for risk taking here or needless fucking sacrifice, right? If I'm going into this, I'm going in to annihilate the other side. It's as simple as that, right? Do you know what I mean? There's only one outcome if I stand on the front fucking line and if Eric stands on the front line. That's what I'm saying. We'll only go once. That is guaranteed. And the only way it's guaranteed is that if you do start shit like that, you have the public on your side. And how do you get the public on your side? Get into the communities. So come on.
That's it. Bang on. And the only reason why we're doing what we're doing now is because we know we can win. You know, that's my face, my name, everything is out there because I know we're going to win. If somebody says to me in the morning, here's an Armalite and 20 of us are going out, I will hand it back to him and I'd say no, because we have no chance of winning. You know, so I mean, even the lads, we'll always revert back to our ancestors. They knew they weren't going to win in 1916. They absolutely knew they weren't going to win.
Yeah.
But what they done is they laid the foundation for people like us to pick up that
mantle. But that was the point. I think everybody misses that though. That was the sacrifice that the 1916 leaders made. They knew that they were all gone. Even before, as soon as they thought it, they sat in that room together. They knew they were going to their deaths. But that was a necessary step back then to get the public awake. We don't have to do that this time. No Irish blood should be spilled. Right? We've already seen enough Irish blood fucking spilled. Even today, we've seen Irish blood spilled. We don't need to see it anymore. I'm sick of our people suffering. Right? I'm sick of them suffering. Right? No more Irish blood should be spilled. It'll be spilled when we know we're going to win. Obviously, every side loses people. Right? But I'm telling you now, we only win this by getting into those communities. And listen, we don't even have to go down that route because democratically we'll have it sewn up, right? And everybody keeps forgetting as well. There is an untapped voter base that's there. There's a lot of people that have never voted in this country, and we could get them to vote. Remember, listen, they did something during Brexit. Now the means that they done it was illegal, right? But they use social media, TikTok, Instagram, where the youth are. Right? And that's where they got the most influence, right? To push the Brexit narrative. So that's what they did, right? They got loads of people they used bots to do it. They were supposed to use people to do it, but they used a secondary company to use these bots to put all of these ads out all over the place. And they managed to pick up a voter base from people that never voted. Also, on top of that, and I spoke about this on a space, Eric was there with me. They also went around nationalists, the Brexiteers over there. They went all over the communities, right? Working class communities, you name it, right? Went all over and start doing surveys. If you were going to vote on Brexit, who would you vote for and all of that, right? And they were able then to get their information, blah, blah, blah. And then they'd send a representative around to talk to them and maybe try get them to change their vote from Labour or whoever it was at the time. And that's how they were able to win it. And that's what we need to do here. They do it in other countries as well and done it successfully. Look at in France. Yeah, there's been fighting in France and stuff like that. But this is what they've done in France. Le Pen and all of these others. She's gone into communities. She's got her people to go all over the fucking country. And it's had an impact. And we haven't done that here. But Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael have been doing that. And that's why they're still in fucking power.
Well,
We've got to get in there, right? We've got to get into the counties that are open for us to get at. We're never going to get at the stronghold counties like Kerry, for example, that's Healy Rays, right? You're never going to get them out, right? But the other counties that aren't so strongholds, they flip-flop from maybe different parties. They're our target. They're the communities we get into. Then we spread the message. Then it spreads into those other communities then. And then maybe those people in those strongholds kind of look at it and maybe they don't vote as much for the Healy Rays as they did the last time. The vote drops. And then the vote keeps dropping then over time. Then eventually they're gone. They're out of the picture, right? But we've got to get in. Look, well, I will never say, just one more thing, Eric. I will never say it to any Irish person, don't go out there and do what you think is morally right. But all I'm just saying is what I would ask you and plead with you is to wait until we go down all of these avenues, right? And then if there's no other choice, then I'm witches. I'm witches all the way. But I think we'd be neglectful if we didn't try everything that we can do, that I believe is humanly possible to do.
Well, look, my view on is we need different avenues of organisation. So democratically, we're not 100% democratically. We're never going to win our country fully back just on the democratic route. But what we do need is we need democratically. We also need organisation behind that. And that's why I always say the youth. Any revolution that's ever happened in any part of this world has been done through the youth.
Here's the thing. Lady Vera there says they'll always get in. It's rigged for F's sake, right? Well, if it's so rigged, right, how come we've got different parties than Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, and Sinn Féin? Remember when we became a republic, they were the dominant parties, right? So it's rigged to a certain extent, right? But this is how you get over the rigging, and this is what I've been trying. This is how the leftists got some success this local and European elections, is that they were ferrying migrants to the polling stations. But not only that, they were registering migrants as well. That's what us nationalists should be doing. We should be registering Irish people, right? And then when it comes to polling day, those old age pensioners are people that can't make the polling station because it might be a bit far from them. Transport should be organised for them and stuff like that. There is a vote. There's a voter base in this country that I believe if you tap in, right, and then you get those people to register. See, I think people just want to be doom and gloom all the time because they just want violence. And if you want violence, I'd question your motive. If you want to get out there and fight, as I said, get out there and fight. It's your prerogative to do that. But all I'm just saying is that you're just going to get nowhere because you won't have the Irish people to back you up. And it's not because it's heartbreaking to say that. That's the thing, though. Me and Eric can sit here and tell you that is heartbreaking to say that. But that's the reality of the situation. And I think you all need to wake up to that reality. It's not that we don't want people to do it. We know that people won't. Right? There's some of you in the chat that will, and maybe another chats that will, that are not all talk and will get out there. But unfortunately, you're not going to have the rest of the country on your side. And the side that you're fighting is very powerful, has billions behind it. And if the Irish government did, right, let's just say the Irish people succeeded to a certain extent, right, and it start getting really scary for the government. Do you think that this government wouldn't actually get international help to stop a coup from actually happening in this country? We'd be squashed. So please deal with reality, folks, because, you know, if we make one false move, it's all over. It's over. We as I said, then it's game over. So I mean, you know, think very carefully, especially those calling for it. Think very carefully before you do, because you know the system can be beaten And the reason why I say that is because we've already shown it can be beaten. And if you don't know what I mean, well, then you just have to look at the referendum. And if you do look at the local elections, there's some candidates have been actually elected, even though the lefties and the NGOs did try to rig it even further. It still didn't stop some nationalists getting in. The likes of Derek Bly, as Eric brought up, he's actually going to get elected during the general election. Those votes alone, right? It was the second preference votes and stuff like that. The votes that he needed that didn't get him over the line, but he will get over the line general election. So that'll be an Ireland first candidate in Dáil Éireann. I think he's a shoe-in. And there's a couple of other candidates. Kevin Coyle from Coolock. I mean, what a remarkable story that is. I mean, for him to be so fucking close.
Yeah. And
I mean, he did the ground. But you know what? Can I just say, Eric, before you jump in, Kevin did the groundwork, though, didn't he? I mean, he went into the community. He was in the heart of the community.
That's what I was just about to say. He went into the community. He went into the traveling community as well, and he got him on board. That he deserves massive respect for that, because not many of us done it, you know. And look at the votes. Look at the votes he garnered. He knocked a shinner out of a seat that's sitting there since 1999. That's not a success. What is?
That's what I mean. I don't think people, because when I first analysed that I was doom and gloom, I've openly admitted that. But when you further analyse, actually look at what the nationalist candidates done, you're right. They actually, some people that had seats for years had lost them because of that nationalist candidate getting some of the vote. So this bodes well. I think a lot of people don't realise, you know, if we do the things that we've been saying, we've got say 4 months maximum, right? Let's just say 4 months, right? If we can get into all over this country in 4 months, right? Get into communities, right? We will do very well. General election. I still think we'll do well either way, but the lefties and the NGOs will be transporting and be under no illusion they will be registering migrants. But I think everybody that's listed, there's 322 people watching altogether, 51 here. So I think the majority of them are actually watching on X. So if you're Irish, okay, this is what I want you to do. Start speaking to your family members. Start speaking to your family and friends, or your friends, right? You know, engage with them. See where they are on all of this, right? And then if there's any sniff that they don't believe that the government has handled it well, that's when you get in there. That's when you spark the conversation with them. And then they'll go and talk to their friends and so on and so on and so on and so on. Isn't that right, Eric? Go ahead, though.
It is. I have to sign off soon, Noel. But what I will say is, as well as talking to family, friends, and people in communities, what there needs to be a big, massive drive on is lobbying the people that have got the votes. People that have been elected as nationalists, they need to be lobbied to come together. People like us that have put votes on the paper for those lads, we need to be putting the pressure on them to be sitting in a room and getting together. No more. Oh, he said this or she said this. No, there's only one goal here, and that's the tricolour. That's our land. So all personal differences or whatever else aside, into a room with no preconditions, sit down there, have a chat, figure out how we can come out at the other end of it, and start guiding the people down that are listening to all of us talking or whatever else, and start educating people even on the transfer of votes. You know, don't for the political parties not to be putting in flooding candidates into areas where there's already strong candidates.
Yeah.
You know, and with the community, with the people that have already voted with us, get them to educate them a little bit more on the transfer of votes, and for the next 4 months or however long up to the general election, to keep on that campaign, so we can give the likes of Derek Bly, the likes of even Malachy, Philip Dwyer, anyone that's standing. Now, I don't know who's standing for general election. They're just examples I'm making. anyone that's standing then for a general election, that the support network is behind, that the voting education is behind the people that have already voted, and for the transfers to be actually going to the correct people and not going in skewed ways across different candidates. I think that's the campaign moving forward that we should be looking at.
Exactly. Look, we've got to start now, as Eric said. The one thing that we are waiting on is for all of these people that got elected now to come up with to formulate some sort of plan moving forward. But this is why me and Eric have been talking, and we've been literally on spaces and all talking this stuff. But we don't have to wait for those guys to tell us what to do. This is what I kind of got into me head. We don't have to be waiting to these lads now that got in. They are going to be busy now because they've got a job to do. That's what they were elected to do. They were elected at the local level, and they've got to do their jobs at local level, or they're out in their ear in 5 years' time. Do you know what I mean? So it's up to the likes of us, everybody in the chat here. You know what I mean? We can all do our bit, right? And to Lady Avera, I get it. You have kids. I have a daughter myself, right? I have a daughter myself. So I know where you're coming from. Eric has kids as well. Yeah, I know absolutely. It's a horrible situation that you feel powerless, that you can't protect your kids, right? But I'm telling you, we will get there. As I said, communities are starting to look out for themselves, and unfortunately, that's the way forward, because the Gardaí are just not with us and are not doing their jobs. They're not air guardians, okay? So we've seen it in communities. Look, we got to get that sense of community back. Back in the day, there used to be neighborhood watch and all of that. That needs to come back. All of that stuff needs to come back. We got rid of that, especially when Aircom, I blame them, this phone watch bollocks, right? And everybody stopped doing neighborhood watch because everybody started getting these bleeding phone watch alarms. And that's what kind of ruins, not just that though, other factors as well. But that was one of the things in my belief that kind of ruined it, because people didn't need to go out anymore. You could be out, your gaff was broken into, you get a phone call and Gardaí were there within minutes, and the person was either arrested or they catch them in the act, whatever. But that sense of community is gone, and we've got to reignite that. So, as I said, whatever people feel is the best option for them, me and Eric will never tell you, no, don't do that. All we're just trying to do is get our ideas out, our points of view across, and hopefully maybe some of you believe in what we're saying, and actually some people here, as I said, 330 watching all together, right, on both platforms. So if we've convinced any of those people that I've just mentioned, right, that's job done, right? They'll spread the message, they'll get out there, they'll start being proactive in their communities. Remember, Irish people have a habit, we always complain about shit, right, but we never really do anything about it. So let's do something about it, right? Let's do something about it. It's our job, right? Listen, this is our turn now, right? I believe that. This is what I genuinely believe. Previous generations of our people have been tested, right? And as far as I'm concerned, we're here now. So as far as I'm concerned, that each movement brought us closer to success. So as far as I'm concerned, they were all successful, right? But this is our turn now. We've got to protect their legacies, but not only their legacies, the future generations of our people. But we won't do that if we all go out and think we're William Wallace. I'm sorry, but, what are we going to do? Beat them with air Hurleys or something? I mean, come on. You know what I mean? I haven't picked up a Hurley in years, by the way, but I'm willing to pick up a fucking Hurley. But you get me point. You know what I mean? So, Eric, before you go, because I'll wrap up with you as well, is there anything else you want to add before we pop off tonight? Have you got a message that you can give maybe some of the people in this chat here right now that are still down, that are still a bit doom and gloom, and don't see a positive way forward?
Well, look, I get everyone's frustration, and we can all think negative. But one thing that there's one word in a dictionary that nothing else can surpass, and that's hope. If you have hope in your mind, that's positivity. So you keep that hope that tomorrow is going to be a better day. The only way you can make tomorrow a better day is to work for that to be a better day. If you sit there negatively, it's never going to get better. So what we need to do is we need to keep positive, and we do need to keep our eye on the prize. The prize here is our country, our kids, and the future generations. It's not the prize is not to go out tomorrow and cause something and win tomorrow and then lose the day after. It's about winning every day after that. So we've come so far already by doing what we're doing. We continue to do what we're doing, and yes, we up the ante and we protect our communities a bit more. But don't get the negativity into your head, because as soon as you start getting negativity into your head, you're going to go down that negative path, and all the positive change that you could make as an individual will absolutely evaporate. So it's positive all the way forward. I know things are bad all across the country. I just look at friends I have up there in Dublin. One, they can't move outside their door because their whole community is gone. They still have that positive thought in their mind, because they know that with people like us out here with our voices and the way we're fighting, that the positivity is going to ring true. And just look, the proof is in the pudding already. 8 or 9 years ago, the National Party was formed. IFP was formed, I think, a little bit after that. Look at the inroads that they've made. We have now nationalists across the line in local elections. Might be only a small few, but we have them. Who'd have thought that would have happened last year? We would never have thought. Now it's happened. So we need to
accelerate faster than the Workers' Party, by the way, who were a party in the 80s, right? It took them 20 years to get a foothold in this country, and that now they're gone. And why are they gone? Well, because they didn't sustain it. They didn't continue the work that they did in the communities, because that's what they did. But they gave up as soon as they got in. Then they kind of stopped working in the communities. So there's one or two TDs that were still doing their work, but the rest of them kind of just, oh, well, we got in, job done sort of attitude. And the Workers' Party is gone now. And why? Because they didn't have that sustainability. They didn't have those strong roots and foundations. And that's what we've got to do. And we've done a lot more than what they've done in a shorter amount of time. So you got to look at it. It's not all doom and gloom.
It's right? Not. Look, I leave it on this, Noel. I put it this way. When you get knocked over, it's not about how you hit the ground. It's how quick you get back up off it. And the only way you get back up is by thinking positively and knowing that you can overcome the obstacle in front of you. And we can absolutely overcome any obstacle in front of us as long as we stay positive, stay together, and keep fighting the way we're doing. Whether that's within communities, whether it's on our social media, whether it's using voices. But what we do need, we need everybody to come out at the same time. We need them unified, and we all need to be for the same goal. People may have different methods, but we need to keep our eye on the prize. And that the prize is that flag up behind me and our kids and their kids and the future generations. Because, as I said, this is going to be a long, long, long war. This is not going to be over tomorrow. If it's over tomorrow and people think that they can go back and sit down and think it's all over, they're wrong, because the establishment and the forces
back at us.
Absolutely do it, and they'll absolutely obliterate us as soon as we take our eye off the ball.
Exactly. Eric, listen, it's been, we should do this again actually more often, I think, because I think these streams are a good idea. Obviously, we'd still report on stuff that's happening out there. We're not sitting here like and trying to paint a perfect picture of the country. We've seen it firsthand. We've been on the ground, right? I was in Newtown, Mount Kennedy with Eric when everybody went to the big national protest where 10,000 people showed up. We decided to go local, and we went to Newtown, Mount Kennedy to support the locals, and it was brilliant. Eric even had a bit of a speech there when he was there, and spoke to the people, telling them what it was like down his way, and spoke about the cars.
I leave it with this. I seen firsthand in my hometown where I was me and two other people from Waterford were the only Daisha people in our hometown where we had foreigners lay claim to our city. I wanted to pull the head off those people, but I knew I couldn't do it. The reason why I couldn't do it because the rest of the people here in Waterford weren't with us. So we need people to step forward and take back our communities, not by violence, but by just sheer numbers and coming out. We are Irish. We're going to stay Irish, and that's the way it's going to be in this land. So,
and we're going to support you as well. And listen, there's been suggestions made as well. You know that day family day outs, which a good friend of ours has set up a few in Dublin that have been highly successful. I would say if there's anybody around the country listening to me right now, listen, if you're in your community, do that sort of thing. Set up a family day. Get the help of your get people involved. Get the help of your neighbours. Get them involved and have an Irish day. Celebrate everything Irish. Irish music. Tricolour, fly our tricolour proudly. Tell stories to each other. Entertain the kids. Bit of music, whatever it is. Right? Bit of food. The our friends that actually I met them today, but that set up this thing, even said it. She's got tables ready to go, even if you don't have the equipment. People here in Dublin have equipment and can help you out in all of this. So have those. It's the summer, right? I know the weather's been a bit crap, right? In fairness, though, but it's the summer now. Some of the weather is going to start getting a little bit better, hopefully. Have those family days. Remember when we were growing up, I don't know if you had it, Eric, just briefly before you go. Do you remember the summer projects? Did you have summer projects? Because we had summer projects and they were brilliant. They were brilliant. We had street parties. The kids were taken to the zoo one day, or they were taken to Clara, what was it, Clara, or whatever you call that place, fucking Blessington, whatever it was. So the kids got in, and the parents then had their own little things going.
My experience of a kid was watching my father, who was a musician, absolutely loved his music, take a chair, take his accordion and his harmonica, go to the top of our block and play music and have street parties. That's what we need back.
That's what we do. We need to embrace all of that. Listen, man, I had the best time of my life as a kid when they held the street parties every year. And then obviously then as the 90s came in, that sort of thing, mid 90s especially, that sort of thing start fading away. And you hardly see street parties nowadays. But that's what should be happening. Have those fun days out. If people want to empower people in their communities, and if you're fed up like me and Eric have been, right, we've gotten out there and tried to empower people. We're not just talking on the internet, by the way. We have been actually out there. So that's why we can come on here and talk about, because we've been out in the streets. We've seen it firsthand, right? And we've seen firsthand when things like this are organised, how it brings people together. Also, it gets a conversation going because people were coming up and asking what this was all about and all of this. And I got the conversation going. And some people that they spoke to didn't even know how bad it was in the country and stuff like that. So these are the type of things, positive things that we can do to change things in this country for the long run, for future generations. Okay? We're not going to do it overnight, unfortunately. And we're going to be the people that's going to have to lay the foundations and make sure moving forward as a people that we are preserved. It's as simple as that. Anyway, unless Eric has any more else to add, I will leave it there. And do you have anything else to add just before we go?
Just thanks for anyone that tuned in, and keep the positivity. And last thing I will say is Aaron Gabra.
And we'll probably try do this again. I'm not saying we haven't agreed on, but if Eric wants to do this again, we will bring Eric on again, and we'll do a few more of these streams. We have seemed to have got a lot of positive reaction from a lot of people in the chat. We've nearly 400 people watching on all across the two platforms. So thank you very much. Really do appreciate that. But we will still keep you informed of what's going on here on the channel anyway. If you want to follow Eric, he's on X. What is it? Eric under Eric, what's it? Eric English?
At Eric Ingy, ERICENGY, or you can follow on Facebook, Watford Says No.
There you go. Right, guys. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like. If you could share, that would be absolutely fantastic. We'd like to get our message out there and across. So if like-minded people would like to share this, please do. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that also. Because as I said, I'll still be throwing up those videos and stuff like that and doing more live streams. Well, we've been doing the live streams anyway for a while. We'll be bringing on more guests and stuff like that. So, as I said, so tune in for them. Right, we'll leave it there, folks. Thank you. Good night. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And I will leave you with the outro. Have a good one. Bye-bye.